Listen, let me tell you, friends. I want to tell you something very deep. You know, in a time of war, imagine you have to send a secret message. The king has to send a secret message to his soldiers. He's not taking a general dressed in the uniform with all his medals. He sends a schlepper. Nobody expects him to send a message, right? Because he gets through, nobody stops him. You know, this is the last war between good and evil in the world. And we are little messengers from one Jew to the other, from God to the Jews. So you know whom God has chosen to give over messages? Little schlepperlocks like you and I. We don't look like much, and people don't think we are anything. But you know what? We look low enough that nobody steps us. And we get through. We get through. I want you to know the greatest message is to bring a message from Yerushalayim to every Jew in the world. Let them know about. The Holy Temple is not destroyed. It just looks destroyed. Because we are destroyed. The Holy Temple is right there waiting for you. The greatest message from one Jew to the other is, I want you to know, the Torah lives, the Torah is alive. Every word of the Torah is so deep, so deep. But you know what the greatest crime against Judaism is? To think, God forbid, the 5 books of Moses is what it says in English. The greatest crime against Yiddishkeit is if you think the prayer book is what it says in English, even the best translation. So much deeper. Not so much deepest. Deepest depths. I want you to know something, just the quote of Shimon Yochai. You know that Torah begins Bereshis, at the beginning, right? So you translate it as at the beginning God created heaven and earth. Let me ask you, if the Torah would not say at the beginning, then you would think at the end God created heaven and earth, right? Stupid, right? Obviously at the beginning, right? When did God create heaven and earth? First he created bagels, then gefilte fish, and then heaven and earth? What do you mean when? What are we talking about? Okay, you know, if you're not into it, what is share a story with you? The quote of Shimon Yochai. You know what Bereshis means? Not at the beginning, with the beginning. Someone asks you, what did God put into heaven and earth? What did God put into nature? You know what God put into nature? Into our very lives? You can always begin again. You can always begin again. And Beis Reshis means you can begin twice. When you begin the first time, or when you fail, you can begin again. So I want to share with you just the first story. I'm sitting on a plane going from New York to Boston. And it so happens I had with me the Beth Yaakov Ishbitzer. And you know, I just gave you this Torah of Rabbi Shimon Yochai in a nutshell. But the Beth Yaakov is a long Torah, you know, earth-shaking, soul-shaking. Next to me is a non-Jewish brother. We start talking to each other. And he says to me, well, what are you learning? And it was one day after Simchas Torah, and the next portion is Bereshis. I say, my dear brother, have you ever studied the Bible? And he tells me that he lives in Maine. So we had 2 more minutes to be learned. I said, let me share with you the Torah from Rabbi Shimon Yochai. Bereshis doesn't mean at the beginning. It means when God created the world, he filled it with beginnings. If you know something, if a person wants to commit suicide, you go down to the beach and you look at the water, you can't commit suicide. Because nature gives you strength to begin again, right? Imagine you're so sad, you just wash your face with water, you're less sad. The wind, you stand and the wind is blowing, gives you so much hope. But then it says, I want you to know, Beis Reishis. Rabbi Shimon Yochai says, you can begin twice. When you begin, and when you fail, you can begin again. Okay, 10 years later, I'm giving a concert near Boston. And suddenly a man walks in with his wife and with his daughter. He is crying. He hugs me. His wife is crying. And his daughter has tears in her eyes. And I have seen this man. I don't know what it is. So he begins to tell me the story. She says, you remember this non-Jewish brother who was next to you on the plane to Boston? I look at him, yes, my man. Anyway, this is the story. When I met him, he was a multimillionaire. Multimillionaire. Top. A few years later, something happened. He went absolutely bankrupt, but he just not. Suddenly you go bankrupt and you go to Switzerland to have a rest and you write a letter to other people, you owe money, wish you were here, things like that. That's the way most people go bankrupt today, but he, mamish, went bankrupt. And he just didn't have the strength to go through the shame. He bought himself a pistol and decided to commit suicide. Okay, he decided to commit suicide, and he's very, he's a straight person, has an office, and he's still a millionaire, although he has nothing left. He bought himself a pistol, and he decided 5 o'clock, I'm shooting myself. It was 4:45. Wait. He thinks, what should I do the last few minutes? Let's study the Bible. He opens the first page. It says at the beginning. Suddenly he remembered the Torah from Shimon Yochai. There's always another beginning. Even if you fail the first beginning, there's a second beginning. Beis Reishis. He called up his wife and his daughter, says, please come here immediately. I had decided to shoot myself, but I'm not. Because I remember a message from a holy rabbi 2,000 years ago who said there's 2 beginnings. So she said, my husband, and we owe you the life because you were a messenger from Shimon Yochai, right? Friends, you never know. You never know whom you have to give the message. We just keep on giving messages. Mamish don't know. And you know something else? Don't ever say to yourself, this person is not interested. You don't know. People are not ashamed to say, I'm hungry, I'm going to a restaurant, I'm hungry. But people are ashamed to admit, my soul is so empty. My life is so broken. Give me a drop of water. Give me some holy words from Mount Sinai. Give me a ray of light from Yerushalayim HaKodesh. Anyway, I want to bless you, Michelle. Western Union, they have a machine there and they receive all the messages. Then they give them out. Bless you, your house should be one of God's Western Union machines. Get all the messages and then give it out.